I think I got an extra pen. I'm not sharing. Peter can have the folder, but I'm having the pen.
I didn't see it.
I'll end up getting. Yeah.
That's right. I know, because I'll put that into his mailbox and I'll say that was very nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, there's a notepad. I wonder if I need more notepad.
As soon as you lose.
Right. You want me to be your courier?
Yeah. Morning, County Council. Call the meeting to order this morning. And if you join me, we'll rise and sing O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Council. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll call, please?
Councillor Mackey,
Present.
Councillor McKay is absent at the moment. Councillor Carlton, Councillor Pringle, Councillor McQueen sends his regrets. Councillor Allwood, Councillor Nielsen, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Dickert, Councillor Kentner, Councillor Keaveney, Councillor Body, Councillor Gregg, Gordon Milne,
Present.
Councillor Dobreen, Councillor Matrasovs, Councillor Bordigno,
Present.
Councillor Echoes, Councillor Hutchinson. We have all members in attendance with the exception of Councillors McQueen and Kay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge with respect the history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, Wyandotte, Wyandotte peoples on whose traditional territories we gather and whose ancestors signed treaties with our ancestors. We recognize also the Métis and Inuit whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Does anyone have a declaration of interest related to any item on today's council agenda? Seeing none, if one should arise during the course of the meeting, you can apprise us of it at that time. So we have the adoption of the minutes of the county council and committee of the whole meeting dated September 14th, 2023. Anyone care to move those minutes? Councillor Hutchison, seconded by. Right, sorry, there are some clerical changes that need to be made or have been made. Madam Clerk, would you outline those, please?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I would just like to note that from the committee of the whole minutes on September 14th, resolution CW 129-23 should reflect the mover and seconder as councillors Gregg and Eccles, and that it should also include reference to the dollar figure of just over $696,000 or 3.4% increase to payroll.
So the motion will read as amended. Mover and seconder, did I have it? Sorry. Councillor Gregg? You'll second that? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Second set of minutes is the closed committee of the whole meeting dated September 14th. Sir?
There we go. Thank you, Warden Milne. Just for reference and understanding, we are into the new service provider eScribe, and it is coming up and asking for a vote. And just confirmation that we're not utilizing the vote here. We are doing hand votes, just for clarity.
I will perhaps ask the clerk just to clarify that, please.
Yes, that is correct. We're still keeping with our raise of hand votes, and recorded votes will also be done verbally. So you do not need to input anything into the system.
Thank you for raising that point. So back to the closed committee of the meeting or committee of the whole meeting. Moved by Councillor Keaveney, seconded by Councillor Dickert. It'll always come to me. It just takes a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Now we have the minutes from the Long-Term Care Committee of Management meeting dated September 12th. Someone care to move those minutes? Councillor Patterson, Councillor Nielsen, any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We have no closed meeting matters. We have no reports. There are no bylaws, news and celebrations. Councillor Body.
Thank you, Warden Milne. Last Friday, Warden Milne and I attended something at Hydrogen Optimized that we had leaders in the hydrogen business industry from across Grey and Bruce, municipal leaders, engineers, had a discussion about building or pulling together a hydrogen hub. There's a company over in Bruce County that's providing hydrogen pumps at the airport for vehicles, and of course we've got Hydrogen Optimized here doing big electrolyzers. Very informative meeting, very really big minds in the room. That was pretty impressive. Great discussion. They will put together a working group moving forward, and opportunities for others throughout Grey and Bruce to work together in the hydrogen sector and try and support each other and move the industry forward. This coming Saturday is, of course, National Truth and Reconciliation Day. If you do not have a ceremony in your own communities, we really encourage you to come to Owen Sound. You know that the Nawash village, or Nawash in later years Potawatomi, peoples came together and lived in Owen Sound down in what we call Oak Brook, around where Kelso Beach is. will be 9:30 renaming the park to Kelso Beach at Nawash Park, recognizing the heritage. And at the Kitchename Wickwidong Gardens, which is right there, there will be a ceremony, and it's always a really fascinating event to come and meet with others, for Indigenous people from the area, and try and break down those barriers and try and learn something and, think and move ahead. It's a great opportunity. So I encourage anyone who can to please come at 10 o'clock and have your mind open and participate. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Counselor Keaveney.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and good morning, everyone. And just a reminder that Meaford is the place to be this weekend. It's our big scarecrow invasion event. So parade starts tomorrow night at 6, followed by a family festival down at the pavilion at our harbor. And Saturday is the annual craft show, and that goes on Saturday and Sunday. And we have Councillor Greenfield present from Meaford, and he would like me to mention that there's also a skateboard competition this Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock at the skateboard park. And we encourage one and all to come out and enjoy our scarecrows pirate theme this year. So lots of fun.
Thank you, Shirley. Counselor Mattress.
Thank you. Through you, the warden, I just want to make draw everyone's attention to after our ceremony for Truth and Reconciliation, we will be launching into our first annual Open Fields Day. So there will be a chance for members of the public to come and explore 5 different locations. If you go to exploreblue.ca, you'll find all the details. There's no registration required for dropping in on any of those 5 sites, but there is also an opportunity to tour the state of the art bay growers facility. Apple growing, all of the apple processing that goes on there. It's a fantastic opportunity. So if you are interested in that one, it does require some pre-registration. So I encourage you to go to that website, check that one out, and then have a free roam of the 5 different locations we have. It's rain or shines, and bring appropriate footwear for visiting a farm. And unfortunately, we do request that you leave your animals behind, because there will be livestock farms, etc. And we want, for safety, everybody to be able to enjoy the day and learn a little bit about the farming practices at those locations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Counselor DeBreen.
Thank you, Warden Milne. Good morning, County Council. I'd like to announce that Southgate will be celebrating its grand opening of its first water tower on Thursday, October 5th from 11 till 1. The ribbon cutting will be around 11:15. There will be Spanky's barbecue on site for those who wish to purchase their lunch. And anyone who's interested of seeing the inner operation of a water tower, there will be tours provided. So we hope to see some of you there.
Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ever remind everybody that that will indeed be the highest body of water in Ontario. Highest body of water in Ontario. Counselor Nielsen.
Thank you, Warden Milne. I just wanted to mention that as of September 25th, the Markdale Hospital, or the Bright Shores Markdale, however you wish to name it, is officially open. It is an exciting moment for Grey Highlands and for Grey County, providing kind of state-of-the-art healthcare services within our borders. So that's a very exciting event. I know that the Premier was here the day of the last County Council meeting, but the following day was a community opportunity to come in. And I was there from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock and probably saw between 300 and 400 residents come through. A lot of them were excited to see names of their parents or grandparents up on the donor wall who are no longer with us, but were here when the project was started and the fundraising started. It was a pretty exciting moment for the community to be a part of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Did someone else have their hand? Counselor Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Good morning, County Council. I'd just like to announce that it's the Intertownship Fire Department's annual breakfast fundraiser this Sunday morning, starting at 8 o'clock. And that's a fundraiser for the Christmas toy drive. So everyone welcome.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Alwood.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and good morning, County Council. just would like to announce that the South Gray Chamber of Commerce is having its Business Awards Gala on October the 19th at the Durham Community Center. The keynote speaker is Rocco Rossi, the President and CEO of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. And I would invite everybody to attend if possible. Be an exciting evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Rossi is a fairly dynamic speaker. I've heard him before, so it's always an entertaining time. Anyone else? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn from our council meeting. Councillor DeBreen, seconded by Councillor Allwood. Thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried. We'll just take a minute to switch over to our committee of the whole meeting. Thank you, Rob. I'll bring our county committee of the whole meeting to order. Does anyone have any declaration of interest related to any item on today's committee meeting? Not seeing any. Again, if one should arise, feel free to declare it at that time. Business arising from minutes, we have a notice of motion from Councillor Keaveney. I presume you'd like to move that notice of motion, Councillor Keaveney?
I would, Your Warden, yes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kentner. So I'll give you the floor, Shirley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and I will read the motion. Whereas the County of Gray, recognizing access to attainable and affordable housing is important to the community and supports that work in the county's housing action plan, which includes additional actions centered on land use planning, policy, and community development approaches. And whereas the Blue Water District School Board declared the property located at 87 Aiken Street, PINs 37118-0051 and 37118-0062 in the municipality of Meaford, are commonly known as the Georgian Bay Community School Tract property, as surplus on October the 18th, 2022, and available for public sale as of June 6, 2023. And whereas the Council of the Municipality of Meaford passed the following resolution requesting that Gray County purchase the property for a housing and green space project at their September 18th, 2023 meeting. The Council of the Municipality of Meaford, number one, asked the County of Gray to purchase the former GBCS tract property for a future housing project and green space. Request that County Council direct county staff to prepare a summary of options for the development of a housing project on that property. And three, commit $500,000 towards the purchase of the property in addition to the $370,100 in county PILT funds previously allocated to a housing project in Meaford. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Gray County hereby directs staff to enter into negotiations for the purchase of 87 Aiken Street in Meaford. And number one, that the authority to negotiate the purchase of this property be delegated to the Chief Administrative Officer. And number two, that staff prepare a report investigating options for a housing and green space project on the subject lands. And number three, that funds be allocated from the remaining 2021 payment in lieu of taxes settlement, the PILT, as earmarked for affordable or attainable housing projects within the municipality of Meaford to support this initiative as part of the 2024 budget process. With your permission, Mr. Warden, may I also add some additional comments? Thank you. We are all aware of the need for additional affordable housing units in Gray County. Although our strategic priorities are not yet approved by this council, I think it's safe to assume that housing will be at or near the top of the list. We also know that collaboration, we are better working together, will be a common theme throughout that document. And this is exactly what I am requesting of you, my fellow Gray County councilors, that we take this opportunity to work together. This property is ideally located 2 blocks from our new super school, 2 blocks from our grocery store, and completely walkable to our new library in downtown core. This parcel is also directly across the road from our newly proposed Toronto Excellence College, the new trades training center that will be opening in our old high school. In the Gray County Affordable Housing Strategy, it is identified that small urban populations are the focus. Meaford, for one, is mentioned on page 5. Sustaining and creating affordable housing is the number one goal, is listed on page 9 of this strategy. Our Gray County Housing Action Plan also speaks on page 2 to Gray facing an affordable housing crisis. Policy targets aim for 30% of new housing to be affordable. The plan also speaks to a collaborative focus, quoting from page 3, orienting Gray County as a lead organization regarding a number of actions falling within its sphere of influence and control, relying on local municipalities, local nonprofits, community partners and agencies, and the development community to participate. This is exactly the opportunity we have before us today. As mentioned in the motion, the municipality of Meaford has unanimously supported pulling $500,000 from our reserves to put towards this purchase. As well, Meaford Council this past Monday agreed to discuss adding 1% to our budget to be put towards affordable housing during upcoming budget deliberations. So Meaford is clearly at the table with skin in this game. We have a unique opportunity here to undertake an affordable housing project in a great location, but it all hinges on purchasing this property. So I ask for your support to direct staff to go forward with the necessary negotiations and ensuing report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keaveney. Discussion. Councillor Gregg.
Thank you, and through you, Warden, I'm not going to comment on whether I think at this time I think it's a great endeavor. However, I do question how we've arrived here with this notice of motion. This is a procedural question. The notice of motion as given last meeting was a notice of motion for the September 28th, 2023 meeting of the Committee of the Whole regarding a potential partnership between the County of Gray and the municipality of Meaford for an affordable housing and community green space project to be located in the former Georgian Bay Community School tract property. I'm accustomed to the notice of motion being given, being very, very similar to what then gets presented on the forthcoming agenda. And what's presented here then on the agenda is entirely different. Same subject matter, but entirely different than the actual notice of motion given 2 weeks ago. Furthermore, you cannot assume, and giving us notice of motion on September 14th, something occurring 4 days later on September 18th. The fact that it did is great, but you can't make that assumption. And then furthermore, if I go to our procedural bylaw, resolution containing a financial commitment, item 23.3, any resolution through a notice of motion which will result in a financial commitment by the county in excess of $5,000 will require a staff report before consideration by the Committee of the Whole. So I think there's a lot within this notice of motion that is going beyond our present procedural bylaw. I think it would be better the body of this notice of motion be pulled from the floor at this time, be presented again as a notice of motion at the end of the meeting, because now it's more aligned with the timeline as it should be. And that we respect that there has to be a staff report before consideration by Committee of the Whole, because that's in our procedural bylaw. That's right out of the procedural bylaw. So those are my comments. I guess if there is some questions in there, I guess, as to the validity of the motion on the floor at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg. And I'm going to ask either our CAO or our clerk to comment on that technical stuff, please.
Through you, Mr. Warden, there is a report included in the closed session package of the agenda today, which I think provides some background and some basis for discussion. This particular matter is one for a variety of reasons that we can discuss. One where time is of the essence. As you can see, the school board has made this property available for public sale as of June of this year. They had kindly agreed to provide some consideration to Meaford in order to be able to have this discussion at county council. I think if we're going to delay discussion of this matter any further, I think we would need to go back to the school board again and ask them whether they would continue to extend that goodwill towards us so that we can have those conversations.
Counselor Greg.
I appreciate that, but what I'm saying is we have a policy to follow. And direction has not yet been provided to staff to actually even present a staff report in the closed session. That directions never came from council to this point. So I appreciate that it's been done, but direction has to come from council to get to that stage. So I think we are preempting our processes in doing this.
I wonder if maybe we need to go into closed session to have that fulsome discussion about whether we're going to give staff direction to do anything. Anyone object to that? Councillor DeBreen?
Through you, Warden Milne, that was going to be my suggestion, is if this notice of motion could be deferred to after closed session, whenever that might be. We could go in immediately, we could go in at the end of the meeting. And would it satisfy my colleague if we did a waive of procedure?
I'm going to look to the clerk. I'm not sure we need to waive procedure to go in closed session at this point, do we?
Oh,
Give you another run at it, Councillor DeBreen.
thank you, it's Barb. Sorry. My point was whether a motion to waive procedure in this case would allow the notice of motion to be received and the staff report that is in closed session that is being referred to as being against procedure, because we haven't given staff direction to bring the report.
So I'll go to our clerk to ask for direction there. Please.
From staff's perspective, the Councillor Keaveney gave notice of an upcoming motion in the general content and subject matter. And then from staff's perspective, notice was appropriately given the final proposed wording on the council agenda. So further elaborating on what CEO Wingrove had spoke to about timing, we attempted to have the notice of our closed meeting for a potential land acquisition on the agenda in the event that council would like to receive further information on the content of that report alongside Councillor Keaveney's proposed motion. So we certainly could defer the pending motion to the end of the meeting, or there is an option to go into closed session now to speak further to the staff report that's there. And that notice for that has been appropriately given as well.
Go ahead, Councillor DeBreen.
Not to belabor, in the opinion of staff, they have the discretion to bring a staff report without direction on any matter. And given the nature of the notice of motion that was presented to staff and probably worked in collaboration with staff felt it prudent to bring a staff report.
So I'm suggesting that we should go into closed session now to deal with it. Then we can, when we come out of closed session, then we can deal with the notice of motion. Okay, moved by Councillor DeBreen, we'll go into closed session, seconded by Councillor Keaveney. Any further discussion? Certainly. Any further discussion? Oh, we need the recorded vote. Oh, sorry, but is there any further discussion on going into closed session? Councillor Nielsen.
Forgive me for belaboring this point a little bit more and trying to understand Councillor Gregg's position on the notice of motion itself. Councillor Gregg, your statement was that there accustomed to a notice of motion being specific in nature and having a bit more detail. My position is a little bit different than that, that typically a notice of motion presented to a body gives kind of details as to the subject matter and not necessarily fully crafted, as a notice of motion will then be crafted with staff's help typically, not always, and then presented to the body. I'm wondering if, because the nature of why we're going into closed session is whether or not this is a valid notice of motion. I'm wondering if our clerk can speak to how detailed the notice of motion needs to be in order for it to actually become part of the next agenda.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Nielsen, through you, Mr. Warden. In this particular circumstance, between this meeting and the time that Councillor Keaveney suggested that she brought forward her notice of motion, the town of Meaford had a meeting and they provided some direction, which is now reflected in the resolution that you see before you this morning. It's, to me, it seems most correct to offer information to council that is as complete and transparent as possible. We couldn't have, at the time that Councillor Keaveney brought forward her notice of motion, Meaford had not yet had that meeting, had not yet crafted and passed the resolution that's included here. It also doesn't make, and so she couldn't have talked about something that had not yet been confirmed by that council. It doesn't seem a transparent or fair to all of you to have a notice of motion which is incomplete or incorrect in any way. I want you to have the full picture when you're making your decisions, which is why this additional detail is included on this agenda, because now we have it to share with you.
Okay, so we have a motion to go in closed session. It has been seconded. Councillor Carlton.
Thank you. I think my comfort level would be more to not vote on that motion now until we've gone into closed session and gotten all of the information there. And then we can, if we have to waive our procedural bylaw, we can do that. But it just would put things in a sequence for me that would be more comfortable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to vote on going into closed session. It has been requested to have a recorded vote on that vote.
Councillor Mackey.
In favor?
Councillor Mackey is in favor. Councillor McKay is absent. Councillor Carlton. Councillor Carlton is in favor. Councillor Pringle. Councillor Pringle is in favor. Councillor Allwood. Councillor Allwood is in favor. Councillor Nielsen. Councillor Nielsen is in favor. Councillor Patterson. Councillor Patterson in favor. Councillor Dickert. Councillor Dickert in favor. Councillor Kentner. Councillor Kentner in favor. Councillor Keaveney. Councillor Keaveney in favor. Councillor Body. Councillor Body in favor. Councillor Gregg. Councillor Gregg opposed. Warden Milne.
In favor.
Warden Milne in favor. Councillor Dobreen. Councillor Dobreen in favor. Councillor Matrosovs. Councillor Matrosovs in favor. Councillor Bourdignon.
In favor.
Councillor Bourdignon in favor. Councillor Eccles. Councillor Eccles in favor. Councillor Hutchinson.
In favor.
Councillor Hutchinson is in favor. That motion carries 85-8.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will now go into closed session to discuss